people reaching out with ways that I could work on it, from very natural, healthy options to Jack Daniels.
Accepting donations to the studio.
There was all kinds of great advice. Thank you guys so much. We will hopefully be able to keep it all together as we go through the show today. Got tons of company. Speaking of Colombo and Company, tons of company today to talk to. Of course, producer Emily will be in studio with me the whole show. We are going to have my Saturday afternoon co-host with me in the 3:00 hour today, Mark McMurray from Bluff City Outdoors and the Bluff City Outdoors Show will be in studio with us for the 3:00 hour. And for the 2:00 hour, starting right now, we have the great Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com, who will be with us for this entire hour. And Crane, for the second day this week, brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug.
And when we hug, I'm going in quick and then giving you a back slap and then going to my chair.
Yes.
Okay, because we got a lot to cover and a little time, as my history teacher used to say.
Well, listen to my voice, and if it starts to sound like it's if it progressively gets worse, I'm relying on you to pick up the slack.
You're almost pulling a Kennedy here, and it's okay because it's intriguing.
I got you. You know what? You are my safety net. You are my my loving arms that can rescue me if I need it. So thank you. Yes, we're also going to talk to Missouri State Rep Justin Sparks just in about 12 minutes from now. Justin Sparks will be joining us. We're also going to talk to our buddy Jeremiah from A Plus Plumbing Drain a little bit later on this hour as well. Crane, biggest story of the day, probably the interview tonight that especially all of us news junkies and news nerds are going to be very focused on. The first time, finally, it's been 39 days since Kamala Harris became the presumptive and now official nominee of the Democratic Party. It's been those 39 days since Joe Biden announced that he was stepping out of the race. And in that time, she has done exactly 0 interviews. And aside from just answering a couple of random questions, at an airport or something like that, for the first time is going to talk to the press or talk to the American people in any way without a script or a teleprompter. So it's going to be very interesting. I've got a lot to say about this. She's not doing it alone. She will be with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and it's going to be on CNN with Dana Bash, which is, considered to be a very friendly place for a Democratic politician. Like I said, there's a lot that I want to unpack about this interview. But what are your, what were your first thoughts, and what are you looking forward to tonight?
Nothing says competence like bringing your support animal to the interview.
Exactly.
Goofy, radical Walz, and we're looking for someone who can face down things in the way of handling. You're going to be leader of the free world. Ostensibly, you are kind of right now because your partner's on a beach and is really incoherent. So we don't really know who's running the show, but Americans have lost confidence, and all the singing and getting up and pointing and jumping for joy. I'm jumping for joy for higher taxes, more inflation, weaker government, less borders. And she has a lot to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Dana Bash, who, hey, she wasn't the border czar, right? Yeah, I wonder if they knew that clip. Okay, Dana Bash has an obligation, if she wants to look herself in the mirror the next day and say, ask the question directly to Kamala Harris and get an answer from her when it comes to changing her positions, or if she still supports the other positions. Because this is what she should do as a journalist. This is their dance. This is their gig. This is what they're supposed to do in the fourth estate. And she's up to bat.
So before we get to Tim Walz, because that is one, I'm glad you touched on that, because that's one that I really want to talk about. I also wanted to address various other things that people have been saying going into this interview tonight. This morning, Donald Trump went on to Truth Social and made a post calling for CNN to conduct a quote fair but tough interview of Harris, because if that occurs, Trump says, quote, it will expose her as being totally inept and ill-suited for the job of president. Yesterday afternoon, Susie Moore from Red State was hosting the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, and she is doing that again this afternoon. And she had me in to talk a little bit about Kamala Harris and, just in general. And I thought in that conversation, Susie said something really interesting, because Susie is also an attorney, has a law background, just like Kamala Harris does. And Susie was pointing out that Susie has been surprised at how weak Kamala Harris is at speaking without a teleprompter or a script, especially with the background of being a lawyer, being an attorney general. This is a skill, talking to a judge and talking to a jury and, and making your point and, using words and your vocabulary to paint a picture or tell a story or influence, a decision is part of that skill set. And she said that I've been continuously shocked at the more and more we get to know Kamala Harris at just how weak she is when it comes to speaking without the teleprompter or without a script. Would you say that that's a fair analysis and also one of the vice president's biggest weaknesses?
Well, Susie's always on top of it and nails it, and in the way of analyzing what we've seen, because I guess going out with Willie Brown didn't prepare her for the job that she got and had. And I know that's tough for people to believe, because you would think, dating somebody like Willie Brown, maybe by osmosis, I don't know. But the point is, you have a woman who is desperately seeking the applause line from a studio audience. Go back and check out her town halls or the interviews on CNN previous. She is a lot like Beto O'Rourke. She just doesn't wave her hand in the air as much. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's dangerous, because if you have a president looking at people, hey, I'm healthcare, I think healthcare is a right. Okay. You say that, and obviously they wouldn't come to a place where you would go, well, how is that going to work? Who's going to pay for that? And what about the history of this, and et cetera, and go down and really investigate her policies. And that is so important tonight for the American people to see a woman who has stated these policies that are far to the left and not be saved by a jumping, goofy assistant coach who on the sidelines doesn't send in the troops and protect people. Okay.
Right.
I mean, so not much protection in Tim Walz, I guess, for Tim Walz. Yes. But not much protection for the people around him. Perhaps he'll jump in and protect Kamala Harris tonight when she gets in trouble. And that's why he's there. Let's be honest.
I really can't.
Interruptions.
I really can't come up with any other reason why he's there, except for exactly that it's his job to rescue Kamala if she gets stuck on a question, is giving a bad answer, or doesn't have an answer. And I don't know, I guess they're hoping Tim Walz has done his homework, because I'm not sure that he has the qualifications or the right answers when it comes to foreign policy and the wars that are happening around the world. I mean, I just don't see how either one of these people are qualified for that. And if we are in agreement that one of Kamala Harris's biggest weaknesses is her ability to answer questions, have the information on the fly about important issues and policies, I think that also stresses how important this upcoming debate is on September 10th on ABC. We've talked this week about, over the weekend, Donald Trump had sort of floated out the idea that he was pretty upset with ABC and had sort of threatened to maybe pull out of the debate. I don't know how much of how real that was, or if it was just kind of a threat to kind of, call ABC out for their bias reporting. But that's to me, that's the worst thing he could possibly do, because even if it's a bias atmosphere in that debate, at least that bias is exposed, and she's going to have to try. There's gonna be questions, whether they're softballs or not. She still is going to have to try to articulate policy and answer questions, and I don't think she can do it. And I think that's why this interview tonight is important, and we'll keep an eye on it. But it puts all the weight, I think, on how important that debate is, and I hope we get more than just one. What are your thoughts on that situation?
I think the more debates, the better. And I don't think they respect the American people, the Democratic Party, because they're not willing to get their agenda out there and have it tested by the voters and see if it is of substance. Or they are, they know what it is. They know it's failed. They know it's the problem and why people are motivated to vote for Donald Trump when originally they didn't want to. We have the insider outsider idea. And so Kamala's coming on and she's saying, I have a solution to the problems that she created, and they're Trump's policies. I mean, how does somebody do that?
Yeah, I don't. And how do they get away with it?
Yes.
It is something that we just cannot allow to happen. Now, I want to focus on Tim Walz for a moment. We're talking to Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. He's my co-host this afternoon for the 2:00 hour. In a few minutes, we're going to get Missouri State Rep Justin Sparks in the conversation as well. But before we move on from this interview tonight, you touched on Tim Walz and how his only role, apparently, the only one that I can think of as well, is there to be the savior to rescue Kamala Harris if she gets into some trouble tonight. And that is not going unnoticed by you or I or many others. And I thought this was absolutely amazing and such a damning report to see today. I don't know if you saw this. The Wall Street Journal editorial board put out a report today saying Harris is doing, talking about Harris doing her first interview with crutch Tim Walz, and they characterize that as an insult to American voters. So let me read you some of this. The Wall Street Journal editorial board slammed Vice President Kamala Harris's strategy for her first interview as the Democratic nominee, accusing her of using a crutch by bringing her running mate, Governor Tim Walz. They said in their report today, quote, don't think Kamala Harris's handlers are shielding her from tough questions. Consider that in her first sit-down interview with the press this week, she's bringing along a crutch, running mate Tim Walz. They pointed out that Harris has been continually dinged by her critics for avoiding tough interviews and unscripted press conferences since Biden endorsed her candidacy, again, 39 days ago, signing up for a tag team interview and added a new attack line for her detractors. They wrote, quote, this is a deliberate attempt to limit the potential exposure risks for the vice president. The one-on-two format will limit Miss Harris's time in answering questions. It will also make it harder for Miss Bash to pose follow-up questions that bore in on the vice president's contradictions with previous positions or get beyond general blather and seek specifics on taxes or foreign policy. The report also noted that Walz will be there to rescue Harris if she starts to struggle during the interview, and called it, quote, one more Harris campaign insult to the American voters. It then provided a list of ways in which Harris has avoided transparency. I won't keep reading it because I could just keep going on and on. It concluded by stating that the vice president's handlers should, quote, let her stand alone and answer questions by herself if they have any respect for the American voter. Pretty damning report from the Wall Street Journal today. And I couldn't have said it any better myself, Crane. What are your thoughts?
It's right smack on. I mean, hit the nail on the head in regard to what Kamala Harris has been for the last 39 days and what the Democratic Party has said. I mean, we have, it's very interesting. We look at the pullout of Afghanistan, and we have a president on the beach, and maybe he's playing checkers, I don't know. But the idea is that he's on a beach. Trump speaks earlier this week, obviously, that to the men and women who have served this great nation and pays respects to the fallen, the 13 fallen at Abbey Gate. And then you have Kamala Harris doing a double interview, in the sense of an interview where she's going to be helped out by her vice president. And this is where I think you got to have a pit bull. And I always want a pit bull. I want a pit bull on Trump. I want a pit bull at any president. I want it on George W. Bush, anybody, whether I like them or dislike them or support or don't support them, because they are the advocate for the American people in the way of informing us what they're actually going to do. And what she has done is she said she was the last person in the room with Joe Biden when it came to Afghanistan and the withdrawal. Well, I mean, that's a fireable offense right there. So if she's tough enough to do that, make that tough decision, why isn't she tough enough to get an interview on a network? I mean, she's making the claim. And he speaks of freedom. He's an authoritarian chat line where you tell on your neighbors, you don't uphold the number one job of government. Here's the deal. It's like a mosquito on the beach, because you got so much out there and you just don't know where to sting because it's all so bad. And you're looking at it going, I got a bite here. If you tell these thoughts to the American people and policies, they largely don't support them outright. And that's why you're seeing the massage of, I support a border fence when I thought it was a vanity project, and diminished it. I mean, this stuff is crazy. So in order for CNN to save journalism, or at least keep the heartbeat beating, they're going to have to challenge and follow up and get answers. I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't know that they will either. I hope you're right, and I hope they do. But I certainly have no faith that Dana Bash and CNN are going to give that tough and fair interview that Donald Trump and so many others want to see tonight. We will continue to discuss it, and of course, we will be watching it tonight and bring you all the fallout from it tomorrow afternoon as well. All right, we're going to continue the conversation. Crane Durham from nothingbutruth.com is with me this afternoon, and we will be joined by Missouri State Rep Justin Sparks. We'll talk about some local issues as we close in on Election Day, and also some more information out this week regarding more details about what happened during the Trump assassination attempt. Justin, with his law enforcement background, has been such a tremendous wealth of insight when it comes to that story as well. So we will talk about all of that and more with Crane Durham and Rep Justin Sparks next on Colombo Company.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the News Talk STL app.
News Talk STL.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
If you are thinking about selling your home, you need to call the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway ASAP, because the Wallners simply are the best home selling team in the St. Louis area, and they can help you no matter where you're at in the metro area. The Wallners are licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so they can help you anywhere in the St. Louis metro area. And I have seen it firsthand. My wife and I were blown away by the results that we received when working with the Wallners. And I know many other people that have worked with the Wallners before and since we did, that all share the same stories, the same experiences. I mean, there's a reason that the Wallners are selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical home seller. There is a reason that they have so many qualified buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer. And, you know, it's because of that service, that dedication. They have the experience, and more than anything, they have the work ethic to absolutely deliver the best results possible for everyone that they are working with. That is exactly what we saw, not only selling our old home, but also finding us a new home. You know, on the other side, we needed to do both, and the Wallners were instrumental and the reason for the success of all of it. So if you are thinking about selling your home, don't wait. It is still a great time to sell your home. It is still very much a seller's market. So don't let that opportunity pass you by. Call the Wallners now. Call them at 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Pat Fader of Comprehensive Chiropractic. Doc, I hear you all have a new treatment program for everyone's chronic knee pain.
Tim, that's right. We are helping patients with chronic knee pain by addressing the root cause of their condition.
And what makes your program so unique?
Well, Tim, many programs focus on just one component of the problem, the structural component. Our program focuses on the metabolic and neurological component to complete the picture and improve our patients' outcomes. We get to the root cause of what is driving inflammation in a person's body and address it directly.
For your chronic knee pain and more, visit cchiropractic.com. All information, make an appointment at cchiropractic.com.
Dive into adventure with Great American Divers. We're your local veteran-owned scuba center offering PADI certification courses, equipment repairs, and dive travel opportunities. From beginners to experts, we got you covered. Kids can join our SEAL Team classes, and we even host pool parties. Our experienced staff is passionate about teaching, and we're the only center in the area with our own indoor heated pool. Great American Divers on Central School Road in St. Charles. Visit greatamericandivers.com. Great American Divers, where adventure runs deep.
Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
All your hard-earned tax dollars and mine are going to fund illegal aliens who come across the border penniless, jobless, skillless, and they're given a cell phone, an identity, and a cash stipend every month.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
That beats your Social Security income if you should have the good nature to work your ass off your whole life and retire.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you in part by Modern Weapon Systems in Fenton. The Jefferson City Report, brought to you by Cadre Asset Management, the intersection of estate and financial planning. Call them today and schedule a free consultation, 636-565-6550.
There's a few songs that will be here till the end of humanity. The Final Countdown is one of them. Like, no matter what, this will be, all of us will be forgotten, and so much of history will be long buried and gone. But the Final Countdown by Europe will stand the test of time. Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Crane Durr from NothingButTruth.com is my co-host for this 2 o'clock hour. I'm right about that, right, Crane? I mean, Final Countdown by Europe. Can you hear me? Crane, can you hear me? Uh-oh. Did we lose Crane? Let's try to reconnect with Crane. We also have Missouri State Rep Justin Sparks on the line with us today. Justin, maybe you can give me the confirmation that I'm looking for. Final Countdown is one of those songs. I'm not even saying that it's like my favorite or like the best example of great musicianship. It's just one of those songs that will always be remembered. It's so classic.
It is. It's just a perfect anthem for the times in which we live too.
It very much is. We've got Missouri State Rep Justin Sparks on with us. Did you give me the thumbs up? I'm sorry. Crane, are you back with us?
I'm back.
All right, very good.
Great to be with you.
I don't know if the power of the Final Countdown by Europe, it blew our connection away there. I wanted to start with Justin. Justin, I definitely want to get into some local issues and stories as we are getting closer to Election Day, and then obviously kicking off another legislative session. But I want to take advantage of having you on and your law enforcement background to react to some of the news, the new information that was released this week by the FBI about Thomas Crooks, the would-be Trump assassin, and his activity before that campaign rally. The FBI has not established a definitive motive for the shooter or any co-conspirators with advanced knowledge of the attack, said Kevin Rojek, special agent in charge of the FBI Pittsburgh field office, in a press call earlier this week. He did say that Crooks had, quote, sustained a detailed effort to plan an attack on some event, meaning he looked at any number of events or targets. The 20-year-old gunman became hyper-focused on Trump's rally in Butler when it was announced in early July. He had no identifiable political ideology, according to the FBI's report. Over the month leading up to the attack, crooks made more than 60 searches related to both President Biden and former President Trump. In late September 2023, an account associated with crooks searched the former president's campaign schedule and upcoming appearances in Pennsylvania. And then, quote, the subject registered to attend the rally, and that same day he specifically searched for, quote, how far was Oswald from Kennedy? Where will Trump speak from at Butler Farm Show? And Butler Farm Show podium, and one more, Butler Farm Show photos. They also revealed, the FBI this week, that Crooks had IEDs in his trunk while at the event. Justin, we've talked a lot about this issue with you. And as I read all this, and as I saw this report this week, more questions and still less answers seems to be the running theme with this. What do you gain from this new knowledge from the FBI this week? And what are your thoughts on where we're at on this? And should we have more answers at this point than we do?
Yeah. So the long and the short of it is, how many times am I going to come on the radio with you guys each week? A couple weeks pass, and we have to say again together, it just keeps getting worse. You can't believe that it gets worse, and yet it gets worse. And it's only confirming our suspicions. It's only confirming those things that those initial reactions that we had just looking at it from a simple objective lens with some of our background. When you hear the FBI talk about a guy that just doesn't have any motivations or ideology, or does that really sound right to you? Oh, it's just one of those random guys that goes out and looks to kill tons of people, and the former president of the United States. It's just random.
Yeah.
Just a complete.
Yeah. They even said that it could have been Trump or Biden, that he was looking into both of them, which also makes no sense.
But he acted on one.
Right.
So
right.
Something to think about there.
Yeah, no, you for sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's absolute crap. I think that they're going to keep pumping out as much garbage as they possibly can, and they will only come out with truth as you have seen it. They're trickling it out little by little because, frankly, I think if they let everything out that they know right now, there would be outrage. And they're using a complicit media to ignore the story that the former president and leading candidate for president was almost killed by less than an inch. And they're desperately trying to make that story go away and into the annals of history, like, oh, this random lone gunman story again. Guys, when are we going to just simply say, bull crap, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You know what I mean? Like, it took how many decades for people to finally come out, including RFK Jr., and say, you know, our government most definitely had a hand in the assassination of my uncle. My gosh, right? And people were like, how long are we going to do this with Trump? Because their stories are outrageous. Their explanations don't hold water. So we have to start asking ourselves, okay, what do we do about it? We can sit there and spit in the wind and we can rant and rave, or we can actually start to move forward substantively, which I think you're seeing some of the House members right now do, especially on this investigatory panel that you saw with some of their findings and some of their interviews with Bongino and others. This is all very helpful, which is we're not going to let this go. We will get to the bottom of it, no matter how uncomfortable that is.
Crane, any thoughts on the information from the FBI this week, and any questions for Justin?
Yeah, the question is, for those of us in the lady, you've been a part of presidential operations in the way of law enforcement and protection. And what jumps out at you as the most egregious lie?
Yep, great question. The most egregious lie is that it was just a breakdown in intelligence and basic ineptitude that allowed a random 20-year-old guy to crawl on a roof and take a shot at the president. That's a lie. That is not what happened. I'm just telling you right now, that's my own opinion. That's my personal opinion from my background. That is not the truth. The fact that the pitch of the roof was too steep, that's a lie. That's just an outrageous lie. I can't
Yeah.
believe it. I can't believe that even lasted on the airwaves longer than 24 hours. that made no sense, right? It was the subject immediately of ridiculous memes.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously not true. But what you're seeing is a power structure, okay, an elitist power structure. This is what I mean. At the very highest levels of our government right now, particularly with our intelligence operations, we're talking the top levels of the FBI, the top levels of the Secret Service. These are not the normal guys. These are not your actual warriors. These are not your working guys on the ground, agent level, doing everyday stuff. This is your elitist. These are your hand-picked people from the sitting administration, the power, the oligarch, really, right? That's who's really in charge. Those people, in my opinion, have something to hide. And that's what we have to get to the bottom of. You're talking about a 20-year-old dude that had foreign encrypted messaging apps. You're talking about a guy that the FBI is basically saying right now, we just don't know what happened. No ideology. He's all over the place. Weirdo, not true. That's not true. We don't know everything. And frankly, we have to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, it almost feels like gaslighting when they release information or have a press, call like they did this week with this information that we just talked about, because it makes it look like they're working on something. It makes it look like they're providing new information, but they're not answering anything. We're not getting any closer to understanding what happened or why it happened. I don't want to run out of time to talk about some of the local issues that I wanted to touch on. But so last question on this, Justin, do you have any faith? Do you see any sign that we are going to get any of those questions answered or any of that real information anytime soon?
Well, guys, you don't bring me on the radio to give you the pretty answer.
No, sir.
You bring me on the radio to tell you what I really believe. And sometimes I have evidence for that. And sometimes I tell you when it's my gut feeling. And this one is my gut feeling that we will not know the truth until we force it. We will not know. We will not get to the bottom of this until they are forced to give it out. And I'm not even talking about it. I hope that that's through all of our legal channels. I think the power structure right now is clinging to power. I mean, like on all levels. And I don't think that they're going to give up power unless it's forcibly taken from them.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to the election. I think it applies to information about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump and a host of other things.
Yeah.
And essentially, they're just throwing it in our faces, and they're saying, we're not going to do this, and what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I'll tell you who's not going to force that to happen is the Biden administration or a Kamala Harris administration. So it's one more thing, that needs to be thought about and considered by voters this November. Talking to Justin Sparks, Missouri State Representative, also Crane Durham from nothingbutruth.com is along with me this afternoon. And Justin, switching to the state of Missouri, we talked this week about the Supreme Court deciding not to get involved in the ruling regarding Missouri's Second Amendment Preservation Act, which means that bill that was passed by the Missouri Legislative, I think in 2021, remains banned, and it is not active here in the state of Missouri. What's your reaction to that decision, and what next as far as is your plan to try to protect the Second Amendment rights of the people of Missouri?
Yeah, so I wasn't surprised by the ruling, maybe slightly disappointed, but not surprised. And I wasn't in the legislature when this was passed, but I have spoken to a number of my colleagues that worked on this legislation, and they had some concerns. There were some concerns about certain language that if we changed certain wording of certain language, that it would pass judicial muster. And unfortunately, sometimes when you're passing legislation, things don't happen, and that language wasn't added. It wasn't edited, basically. So it went through. And so that's exactly what was kind of predicted did. And so here's the plan. The plan is that we have to file legislation in the House and the Senate with the corrected language that the courts found objectionable, so that it will pass judicial muster. and that we can still have the protections of our Second Amendment. And that's exactly what I plan on doing.
And then, of course, IP reform continues to be a massive conversation, and I think it will, it will impact. I think abortion is the main thing that was discussed with IP reform this past legislative session, because we knew of this plan, this bill that would be in front of voters in November regarding abortion rights and a constitutional amendment. But I think that the Second Amendment could be the next attempt, by that side. So I think it touches everything. Do we have any more confidence now after the primary elections and heading into the November elections that will be more successful this coming legislative session in resolving IP reform than we were last year?
Yeah, fortunately, the primaries showed substantively, like definitively, that the Republican Party platforms that we have voted on, that we have supported, that people are paying attention, that people are waking up, and they're going to start holding their Republican leadership accountable. And they do that through people like me. And they expect me to tell them the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to come on the radio and tell them if Republican leadership isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so I am hopeful, in fact, that an initiative petition will go forward. There will be different personalities in the Senate and the House. And there is a clear mandate from the people that the direction of the state of Missouri needs to reflect the values of the Missouri citizens. And that's exactly what we intend to do. So, and also, to your point about abortion, there was just an article in the Missouri Independent where the polling is, it really is interesting that this Amendment 3 is in fact so radical. I think that they really overplayed their hand and they made a mistake. It almost seems like it's designed to fail because there's the restrictions on abortion, which aren't any, it would go all the way up to the day of birth, partial birth abortion. And when you look at polling, you look at Missourians, nobody wants that. And when you look at transgender care, surgery for minors, nobody wants that. So it really, to me, when people become educated about Amendment 3, I don't think it's going to be close.
I hope you're right. What scares me is that it is so bold because they do have confidence that it will, that they'll be able to either hide the bad parts enough and turn it into a, they're trying to take away your rights argument than truly what the details are about. And, it's our job and others to make sure that the truth is out there for voters when we do get to the November elections. But it scares me that it is so drastic and bold, because it makes me think that they have confidence that type of bill will get through. Justin, we are out of time this afternoon, but really appreciate your time. As always, remind folks how they can learn more about you and all the things that you're working on.
Sure. You can always look up sparksformissouri.com, Sparks for Missouri on Instagram, and Justin M. Sparks on Facebook and X. God bless you guys.
God bless you. Thank you for your time today. That is Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. We continue on here. Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com is with me, and we're going to be joined by our buddy Jeremiah Burpo from A+ Plumbing and Drain in studio next here on Colombo Company.
Danny Define here, host of the all-new show, The Next Gen, with me, Danny Define. We're going to cover all the hard-hitting topics on this show, national headlines and things happening right here in St. Louis.
Next Gen with Danny Define, Sunday nights at 8.
Right here on News Talk STL.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
This is the actual precedent set why Bernie Sanders cannot have a 32-hour work week.
The Department of Labor wishes to report that the workers of Fredonia are demanding shorter hours.
Very well, we'll give them shorter hours. We start by cutting their lunch hour to 20 minutes.
Where's Fredonia? Oh, it's right.
Oh, here we go.
It's on the southern part of Gooberstam. Yeah. And of course, Rufus T. Firefly was the leader of Fredonia.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
So we had our friend Dave Sylvester from Gutter Pros in studio with us on Monday afternoon. Great conversation with Dave. If you missed it, go back and check it out on the podcast. And we've kind of gotten away from a whole lot of the severe weather that we saw early in the summer and in the spring this year. But now we are right around the corner from fall, and more issues that could affect your gutters are right around the corner, like all the leaves falling out of the trees and clogging up your gutters. Perfect reminder that the Gutter Pros are there for you if you need anything when it comes to servicing your gutters. Leaf protection, new gutter installation, gutter repair. Also, they repair and install siding at the Gutter Pros. They absolutely do it all. We had a lot of that severe weather earlier in the year. And, if that created or exposed a gutter issue or damaged siding at your home or business, and you haven't gotten that resolved yet, don't let a problem that's already started turn into something much bigger and much more costly down the road. Call the Gutter Pros now and get it taken care of. Again, if you have a siding issue or anything relating to your gutters, a problem at your home or business, call the Gutter Pros now. Learn more about the Gutter Pros and contact them through the website gutterpros.com.
Man, what a great party you're throwing here. This wasp nest is great.
Yeah, man, we got about 70 wasps in here.
Too bad we can't fit any more wasps in here. It looks like they're having fun outside, stinging all the kids. Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Every now and then, I think you might like to hear something from us. Nice, easy. There's just one thing. You see, we never, ever do nothing. Nice, easy. We always do it nice and rough. But we're going to take the beginning of this song and do it easy. But then we're going to do the finish rough. It's the way we do. Proud Mary. And we're rolling, ooh, rolling, ooh, rolling on the river. Listen to the story. Left a good job in the city.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company. Take your time. Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Jeremiah from A Plus Plumbing and Drain is in studio with us right now, and Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com is on the line as well. And Jeremiah and I, it's been a while since I've seen Jeremiah, and we're just talking. Emily's like, the show is on the air. Like, are we going to do something? So sorry about that. Welcome back to Colombo and Company. And great to see you, Jeremiah. How are you, buddy?
It's good to see you too, Tony.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
It has been. So I wanted to check in. We earlier in the year, and I was just talking about it when I was just talking about the Gutter Pros. The spring and the summer started with a lot of weather, a lot of rain, a lot of severe weather. I had an issue that I talked about, on one of those terrible stormy nights where we had the main water coming into the house broke. And not only is it pouring outside, and that's where the shutoff is, but I can't even shut it off inside because it was before the main water shut off. Just an absolute mess. Did all that weather, did that create more problems for you guys when we experience a lot of severe weather like that? Does that have extra pressure on your plumbing and
okay, so let's talk a little bit about the history of plumbing in St. Louis specifically. basically, and it's just kind of rule of thumb stuff here, but basically, so anything below Grand or from Grand Avenue down to the river, that's all pretty much St. Louis City. And back when that was built on what they call a combination sewer system. So your sanitary waste and your runoff from, stormwater and your storm waste, that all goes into the same exact system. And then that plant has to treat all that waste coming through. And it can, on a real heavy rain, it can overwhelm the system. They've changed the codes over the years to where now everything is a separated system. So you have a sanitary system and you have a storm system. So in theory, a heavy rain should not affect your sewer lines. If it does, more than likely you have a broken sewer line outside and that rain runoff is just gone and found a channel through the ground to your pipe and is intruding there. Hence the reason we have, the sewer lateral programs put in place by most counties and municipalities, and they're always a good resource for people if they have a issue with their line outside is the lateral programs.
Crane, I don't know about you, but just having like Jeremiah's been our family plumber since before A Plus Plumbing and Drain was even around, and you just heard exactly why. When you have somebody that has that kind of knowledge and you're like me, you don't know what to do at all when it comes to plumbing. That knowledge and that trust really comes through. It is really important, is it not?
Totally. And it's amazing because we found a great plumber and I think I stalked him because I loved him so much. So Jeremiah, my question to you is, what should we ask? Because we don't know. It's like they asked me what's wrong with my car, and I'd like to say, hey, it must be the oil. That's the only thing I understand. So if it's a plumbing situation, it's even worse. Tell us the types of questions we should be asking the plumber to find out if they're good.
Yeah. Okay, so first off, if you call a plumbing company, you may get a secretary or you may get an actual technician, but they should basically ask you, is the water backing up or is it constantly running? Or basically what we first try to determine is if it's a drain or a supply issue. If you've got a leak, say in the wall, but it only leaks when you flush the toilet or you run a sink, and then when you shut it off, it stops, more than likely it's on the drain side. If you've got a leak in the wall and it just constantly leaks, no matter what you do, there's constantly water coming out, even just a little bit, more than likely that's a supply leak because it's constantly charged and it's going to continually leak. But some of the questions that we would probably ask is, where's the water coming up from? Is it one specific thing that causes it, or does everything cause it? A lot of times we will ask, was it raining outside? If you have a sewer backup in the basement, we'll ask, was it raining outside? Because even though we're on those separated systems, they still have some houses that will have like an outside stairwell with a drain in the bottom of that. And a lot of the times those are tied into the sanitary system inside the house. Codes changed where it's not allowed anymore. And if you do work on that area, you're supposed to change that to rectify that. But yeah, typically those are the kind of questions we're going to ask. Is it a constant thing? Is it intermediate? Do you notice anything different when you are when it happened? Or we'll even ask you, what were you doing when it happened? Did you just take a shower and then you went downstairs to do some laundry and you saw water on the floor? Or did you just flush the toilet and you saw water on the floor downstairs in the laundry? Or we get a lot of calls when we run our washing machine, the sewer backs up. Well, does it come out of the floor drain or out of the washing machine standpipe? That could be two different problems.
I think it's so important that I think that shows it right there. The thoroughness of checking everything, asking all of those questions instead of, trying to do a quick pre-diagnose and, move in and, try to take care of the problem as quickly as possible, whether you're really solving it completely or not. I think it's so important. Jeremiah, we talk a lot when you're in about home situations, which definitely A Plus Plumbing and Drain is the team to call. But you guys also do is, and I think more than ever, there's people out there flipping homes or doing renovation projects, and you guys also can do some of the very, like you can be involved and helpful in those
our
plumbing
full home
projects
restoration, and then we also do a lot of new construction as well. We've got a couple new construction builders we work with. We do a lot of home renovation and flip homes, for investment people. And currently we're doing a home over in U City. It was a 3-2 house, so 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. We're putting a bathroom in the basement, kind of like what we did over at your house in Florissant years ago.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to make the master bigger, so we tore all the plumbing out. And then their contractor came in and reframed the bathrooms to size them differently. So now they're going to have it's roughly a 10 by 10 master. And then they've got the 5-7 hall bath. So it's going to turn out to be really nice,
Yeah.
And that's the thing is we try to work with our contractors to give either the contractor or the homeowner, pretty much whatever they want. And I have to say thank you to the listening audience too, of the 101.9 News Talk STL. I've gotten a lot of response for my commercials on here and you, and when we started this, Tony, I told you, you guys are family to me. So, we're happy to deal with you guys. And
well, what's amazing about you and I don't mean to cut off the compliment, but since we're almost out of time, I just wanted to remind people that I think what really connects people with your message is that you didn't build this company with a huge advertising budget and television and radio commercials. You built it on word of mouth and just recommendations, which I can't think of a better company, local family-owned business that, with better credibility than that, like working on recommendations alone. Facebook page, best place to get a hold of you guys and learn more.
Yeah, it's always a good place. Yeah. And then Destiny will contact you back and we'll get the ball rolling on whatever you need.
Great stuff. That's Jeremiah from A+ Plumbing and Drain.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really appreciate it. We'll be back with more next.
Tim Jones here for my favorite St. Louis sports bar and grill experience, the go-to spot of Johnny's Hideout. Johnny's Hideout featuring over 40 big screen TVs to watch.
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
College and NFL season. Awesome food specials every single day that I absolutely love. Bike nights, classic cars on Wednesdays, live music every weekend, and a fantastic time to visit the gorgeous Sunset Patio. Located just 10 minutes from 270 and Gravois, open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. onwards. All the information you need to know at jhideout.com. That's jhideout.com. Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge.
Need reliable auto service from people you can trust? Look no further than Western Tire and Auto. For over 15 years, we've been your complete automotive repair center, family owned and operated, with owner Dean Cleathermes bringing 30 years of industry experience. At Western Tire and Auto, you're not just a customer, you're family. We promise 100% satisfaction, treating you with the transparency, respect, and honesty you deserve. Visit us in St. Peters or in Florissant. For appointments, call or check westerntireauto.com. Western Tire and Auto, your local automotive experts since 2008.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. War of words as Beijing using some strong language for the United States as a high-level White House advisor wraps up a 3-day trip to China. Donna Warder has the latest.
Good morning.
Through a translator, Vice Chairman of China's Central Military Commission, Zhang Youxia, greeted White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan before taking their seats. During the rare meeting, Zhang demanded that the United States stop collusion with Taiwan, the self-governing island that China says must come under its rule. Zhang said the reunification of Taiwan with the mainland is the mission and responsibility of the military. The meeting comes one day after the White House said that both countries would plan for a phone call between Chinese President Xi Jinping and President Joe Biden in the coming weeks. I'm Donna Warder.
Russian news reports say a former defense ministry official has been detained in a fraud case. It is the latest high-profile arrest of a senior military official in Moscow. Also at townhall.com, federal judge ordering the release of a defendant convicted in the January 6th incident.
The Supreme Court ruled in June that federal felony obstruction of an official proceeding charges are only valid if the government can prove that the defendant, quote, impaired the availability or integrity of documents or records rather than merely obstructing an official proceeding. On Wednesday, U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell ordered the release of defendant Patrick Stedman, who was convicted of a felony obstruction charge and 4 additional misdemeanor counts last year. Howell cited the Supreme Court decision in her ruling, which granted Stedman's motion for release pending appeal. According to Newsweek, Stedman will not be released until October 27th because he's still serving a mandatory 12-month sentence from his misdemeanor convictions, on which the Supreme Court ruling had no impact.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hello, this is Franklin Graham. Does it feel like the world is coming apart at the seams? It does to me. What do we do as Christians? Do we just sit back and let it happen, just waiting for Christ to return? And we just sit on our hands? No, we don't do that. He's called us to action. He's called us to take the gospel to the ends of the earth. And that's what we do. As Samaritan's Purse, we go. And we go in Jesus' name, whether it's with a truck full of shoebox gifts or an army of volunteers ready to help wherever they can, or whether we fill up one of our cargo planes and respond to the far corners of this earth. Wherever there is a need, we go and we help in Jesus' name. Don't just sit back and wait for Jesus to return. You have one life. Make it count.
You can be a part of taking the gospel to the ends of the earth. To find out more about Samaritan's Purse and how you can be involved, go to SamaritansPurse.org. That's SamaritansPurse.org.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Should be a pretty quiet evening. A couple of isolated afternoon thunderstorms could pop up, but they should be gone shortly after sunset. It's going to be muggy, though. Overnight lows tonight in the 70s for most of us, some upper 60s. It'll start off sunny tomorrow, but showers and thunderstorms are likely from around midday on. And a few of those could produce some gusty winds or maybe some large hail as well. But the rest of the Labor Day weekend is looking very, very nice. Saturday, the humidity will be falling. We'll be in the low 80s by Labor Day. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
St. Louis's #1 choice for conservative talk.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion
From the voices you know and trust.
Mike Ferguson, Tim Jones, Dan Bongino, Tony Colombo, Vic Borselli, Chris Arps, Ken Williams, Larry Connors, Gabe Pfeiffer, Joe Pags, Randy Tobler, Jamie Allman, Ben Shapiro. #1 for the most live and local conservative talk. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Still 100% George Soros free.
Fox News commentary.
Tonight's the night, the big Kamala Walls joint interview airing on CNN. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Hi, I'm Ron Kraszewski, Chairman and CEO of Stifel. Financial advisors, let's face it, if you're not growing your practice, you're losing market share. Stifel is a growing, entrepreneurial, advisor-centric firm built for successful advisors like you. There's a reason why 148 financial advisors joined Stifel last year. Come join us and find out why Stifel is the firm where success meets success. Visit www.choosestifel.com.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
After roughly 40 days as the presumptive and now official Democrat nominee, Kamala is finally sitting down for a pre-taped interview on CNN with a sidekick for emotional support. Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz will be doing a joint interview with CNN's Dana Bash. Shoot, what kind of girl boss needs an old white man beside her to do a pre-taped interview with a more than friendly network? She's hidden behind Joe Biden. Now she's trying to hide behind Tim Walz. Does she think she's going to get a +1 to meet with world leaders if by some twist of fate she becomes president? I'm only 32, but I'm old enough to remember when political candidates wanted to explain their views to the media and to the American voter. Politicians asking for your vote owe you that much. But Kamala and her campaign managers are so greedy and entitled, they think you ought to vote for her first and then find out later what she plans to do as leader of the free world. You deserve better. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Always be clear where you get your conservative talk.
Our left groups who are paying for and likely stoking these campus protests today. At least 1.3 million came from two liberal foundations, the Rockefeller Brothers and George Soros.
Liberal billionaire George Soros is the largest shareholder of Odyssey,
the parent company of KMOX and 97.1 Talk.
And when he controls what's on the radio stations, he's going to be able to control the mind, potentially hundreds of millions of Americans.
St. Louis's trusted source and number one
for conservative talk.
This is News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. I swear to you, I almost just said welcome back to the Bluff City Outdoor Show.
Yeah.
I had to stop myself. Mark McMurray from Bluff City Outdoors is in studio with us, and just your face made me go into Bluff City Outdoor Show mode.
Yeah, it has that magical effect on people.
It does. It's a beautiful face, and it does have that magical effect on people. Mark is in studio with us. Obviously, Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, your go-to place for preparing for so many outdoor activities, and especially this time of year. So much, going on, and so many products and services out there at Bluff City that can help you out, whether you're fishing, hunting, specifically with archery season coming up, trapping, just all of it at Bluff City Outdoors and all. And we'll talk about it as we go through the rest of the show here today. And also don't forget about the Bluff City Outdoor Show. Mark and I host that show every weekend. It's Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. and Sundays at noon here on News Talk STL. Is this a particularly, I would imagine that like the beginning of the fall and the beginning of spring are probably the two busiest times for you. Is that true, or is that?
Yeah. So once the temperatures adjust and we really get going, when it's hot like it is now, I mean, it's just slow mode. But once things start breaking loose, because you get the fall bite going again on fish.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you're getting into archery season and getting close to trapping season and stuff.
Yeah. Hunting season really is. I mean, it's Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
That's wild to me. And
time flies.
Yeah, hunting season is right around the corner.
Yep.
So also, just whether you bow hunt or not, if you're just looking for a good time, go out to Bluff City Outdoors and shoot in the archery range, which is open every day. Right? It's open every day.
If we're open, it's open.
It's open. Yep. And it's kind of like, I still think, what's it been, 2 years since the expansion?
It's 2 years, I guess, this weekend.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, there you go. So about 2 years ago, since the expansion out there at Bluff City Outdoors, which brought along with it the archery range. And while I think a lot of people have taken advantage of it, I still kind of think it's like St. Louis's little hidden secret that you could go out there and shoot just about any time you want. No lines, and
because we're open, we got great hours, which is different than a typical archery shop.
Mm-hmm.
The archery range is open if the shop's open.
That's so cool.
Bowtechs may not be there all the time, but the archery range is open.
Right. It's an absolute blast. I had never really, besides just kind of messing around on my cousin's farm or my buddy's farmland a couple times, over the years in my life, I haven't really shot a bow very often. And, I've been out there now a couple times at Bluff City, and it's one of those things that like you do it once and you're like, this is fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
I want to do this more often. We'll get into some of that outdoors content and stories here as we go through the rest of the afternoon. Mark's going to be in studio with me for the rest of the show today, but there's also some news issues we need to dive back into. But don't forget about the Bluff City Outdoor Show every weekend. And then, of course, just like Colombo and Company, you can also download and subscribe to the Bluff City Outdoors Show podcast on basically every podcast platform. So subscribe to both Colombo and Company and the Bluff City Outdoors Show to make sure you never miss any of the conversations on either show. What do you think about college athletes and whether or not they should be paid for their performance? Just overall, where do you stand on that issue?
It's an interesting topic.
It's been a big issue for a while, in this country.
So when you kind of look at the impact of that, it devalues the side of the education side of the whole thing. So from that perspective, I think it's negative. But from the perspective of college is supposed to get you prepared to make a career in life. From that perspective, it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's one of those it's one of the rare issues that if you told me to make a full convincing argument for either side, I think I could do it for either side. Because it really is, one of those issues that you can see the very positive and also the very negative.
Yeah,
to
like
both
you said,
sides of it.
If you look at college as a way of getting an education or whatever in order to generate a career, growth, earnings, then they should be able to do it. If you're looking at it from a more of a rigid, a student athlete's a student athlete, and you look at it from that perspective, then it doesn't fall very well there.
Yeah.
But I mean, today the price of college, I almost think if you can earn some money because there's so many that are coming out with these giant debts, and they can't buy houses for 10 years. And stuff,
So I'm going somewhere with this conversation, but there's some of it that I want to cover before we get there. But at the end of the road here, I have a story that broke today about college athletes and being paid that all ties in to election season this year. So, but I saw Emily, you lit up. We should talk to Emily because she is a college student.
The voice of the youth. No, I hear a
Exactly.
lot about this actually with NIL, like name, image, likeness, and things like that.
Yeah,
brand deals
exactly.
for athletes, things like that. And I have a lot of athletes in my life.
Oh yeah,
so,
I was gonna say, are we allowed to say that
Yeah,
you
you can.
have athletic people in your life?
Yeah.
College,
so like, I mean, my
college athletic
boyfriend's
people?
at hockey practice right now.
There
And
you
like
go. I
his
didn't know
point
if
with
we
it, his point with it is like, if I'm working a job right now, right? And so that's how I'm putting myself through school. But if you're a college athlete, the same amount of hours I'm putting into work, right? They're putting into their sport every single day. They have team workouts that they have to do. They've got practices every day, games on weekends. I mean, I'd say that they're putting at least 20 hours, probably more in. And so they can't really hold down a part-time job and do athletics and do school. It's crazy. So it almost makes sense to me that like, especially scholarships, but I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say, hey, if you want to go get a brand deal or something like that, yeah, you can be a paid student athlete, and that way you still have a way of doing your sport and making money and putting yourself through school.
Yeah, I totally agree with. I think that what we have started with the direction that we've moved in this issue over the last couple of years is, I think, the best solution, because I don't want colleges paying students. And I don't mind, scholarships, and you can make that argument like, oh yeah, they can't. Yeah, they're being asked a lot. These collegiate athletes are being asked to do extra things, and they're being asked a lot by by their schools, but especially the ones that are receiving a scholarship are kind of being paid.
I mean,
for their
you're
services.
being paid. You're getting a
right.
free
And
ride
I'm specifically saying like name, image, likeness.
I know,
stuff.
and that's
like
where I'm going. Right.
Not like that the school should pay you additional to like, okay, if the school wants to give you a full ride, I think that's that. That's
Right.
that. They're not paying you extra money just to go to their school. That's kind of a bribe. And I think that's what NCAA defines it as. But name, image, likeness stuff, if a video game wants to put you in there as like a college hockey player, right? Or a Livy Dunn, they want your face on a beach towel or something. Like, I think she should be able to profit off that. That's between her and the company.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree
I totally agree with, and that's the direction that I like to see this going, because if you're the quarterback for the best team in the country and your number is 12, and the number 12 jersey is making millions of dollars for that, because of the person who wears it, you should get some you should get some benefit from that. But I don't, and you can also make the argument that collegiate athletes do get other benefits from being on the team outside of money. But I've always thought the appropriate way to do this is to allow them to make money off their NIL. Allow them to.
You allow that, and where you don't, what you don't allow is you don't allow just because that person is number 12 and leading the team to a national championship. You still got to get his coursework done.
Right.
You don't have any excuses there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it. You have to still get your grades. You don't play favoritism there, which I think that happens.
Yeah,
for
sure.
And that's wrong. And so you can't have it all go one-sided. It needs to be fair.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it used to be you couldn't even a kid couldn't even sign an autograph and sell it for $20 without violating NCAA policy, which is just crazy. It's your name. It's your individualism that is. So I'm not saying it's perfect, but I like that it's been addressed, and I like that these college athletes are allowed to benefit off of their name, image, likeness, as much as the colleges have been for so many years.
Yeah, if they could take advantage of it while they're in college, because a great college career doesn't necessarily translate into a great pro career.
Right, absolutely.
So if you could get yourself going in the right direction in college and take advantage of it.
Take advantage of it now.
I'm thinking of that. He was a linebacker. He played for Oklahoma. I mean, many years ago, Brian Bosworth.
Oh yeah.
He great college player, had a great name. He would have been famous in that type of, business while he was in college, but he went nowhere in the pros.
He got ran over by Bo Jackson.
Yes. So, I mean, he had no real pro career. So, but he had a great college career. He could have, got himself.
He was a bust. Yeah. He was
going in the right direction.
He was considered a can't miss.
Financially. Yeah.
Right. For sure. Yeah, you're right. But he did have a very famous collegiate career.
Yeah.
That he was unable to.
It just didn't transfer to the pros.
Right. No. Right. Exactly. So the reason I bring up this issue is because it was in the headlines today in a very interesting and unique way. College athletes are being offered thousands of dollars to endorse a United States senator in his re-election bid. This is John Tester in Montana, who we actually talked about in a story. I couldn't tell you the last time I did a John Tester story, and I've done 2 this week because John Tester is also considered to be one of the leaders of the Democratic Party that is responsible for launching Kamala Harris's career. He was a key committee chair and held leadership positions back when Kamala Harris was first starting to run for Senate, and John Tester was one that really went to bat for her to the Democratic Party and other Democratic leadership and got the party to rally behind her, and is credited with being, for a lot of the success that Kamala Harris has had. And then this year comes along and he's refused to endorse her.
Yeah, that's some pretty ironic there. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So we had just talked about that story, and he is in a battle for his job. The polls in Montana right now are not looking so great for John Tester. So it looks like they are trying to come up with any strategy they can to try to turn the momentum up there. And this is super interesting. College athletes in Montana are being offered cash to make endorsement videos for Senator John Tester as he campaigns for one of the Democrats' most vulnerable seats of the 2024 election cycle. A group called Montana Together recently sourced athletes at the University of Montana offering payments in exchange for the promotion of Tester. This is all according to the school's athletic director. That's who this is coming from. And this all started in July. The initial contact was made on behalf of the group Montana Together through a representative of OpenDoors.com, a platform used as a marketplace for athletes to score name, image, and likeness deals. The group was offering student athletes a range of offers from $400 to $2,400 in exchange for videos, quote, spreading the word about Democratic Senator John Tester. The emails, which have been released to the media, read, quote, "We have an NIL opportunity for Montana student athletes, and I could use your help getting the information below to any individuals you recommend applying for this campaign. Montana Together is using Opendoors to source athletes for an NIL deal. Who are they looking for? Athletes who attend college in Montana and are interested in spreading the word about Senator John Tester and causes you care about." The deals were offered as follows, and it was $400 for if you read 2 scripted videos, $800 for 2 unscripted videos in your own words, the athlete's own words, and $2,400 for 4 unscripted videos. I have some reaction from some of the athletes there in Montana, but what do you think of this approach of paying college athletes for a Senate campaign? I just find this is fascinating to me.
It is. Now, I will say, just when you read that, I'm sitting there reading it, very closely. It doesn't say in there that they have to be pro John Tester. So if somebody gave,
kind of says, "Do you want to be bought by John Tester?"
Well, but it says, about what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't, you don't like what he's doing, you should be able to get paid for putting that together, because it doesn't say.
All he asked for was a video. Right?
It's still an unscripted video.
That's a great point.
So students out there hear that, this is a chance to pick up a few bucks.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it's a free market economy, and I think it's like whatever. I mean, if you want to do a script and you want to have a brand deal, basically, I don't think that they should be able to stop you from doing that, because it would be almost. I'm like too passionate about this, but it would be almost. It's like,
it's good.
Hey, don't tell me like who I can and cannot take money from just because I go to school somewhere, and like just because I'm an athlete. I don't know. I think it shouldn't even be involving the school. It's not. It's, hey, you want to buy this person's like 10-second clip of them saying like an advertisement for McDonald's. They should be allowed to do that. You're not like a slave to your university.
No,
right?
absolutely. And I don't think the university is trying to block anything. I just think it's, I think that the, the strategy is fascinating to me. 2, how many of these college athletes aren't politically involved and are like, oh, $2,000 to say something positive about John Tester, who I don't even.
Desperation.
It does scream desperation.
It does scream that.
It does scream.
Untapped market,
but also opportunity for some athletes to make some money if you don't mind.
It's a win-win. I mean, hey,
politics.
Everybody needs to use their own brain when they're looking at any political ad in the first place. Like,
well, I hope that the athletes do exactly that and don't end up endorsing somebody that they don't ultimately agree with. Like, just jump at an opportunity to
find one
make a little bit of money
that doesn't agree to do I really don't like him, and then still try to get paid.
Well, here's one that would fall in that category. Lily Meskers. She is a UMT track athlete and journalism major. She said she, quote, immediately felt frustration upon receiving this email. She said, quote, when I first received the NIL deal offer, I immediately felt frustration. I had to ask myself, why would someone seek my endorsement when their values directly negatively impact me? Tester's vote against the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act is against everything I've worked towards as a female athlete. This vote is a gateway to biological men taking away scholarships, medals, and roster spots from female athletes, and many female athletes on my team have shared this same frustration. So
there's your group to go see if they can get paid.
I don't think she's going to be taking any of John Tester's money.
Well, you can take it as long as he has to, as long as you met the criteria. Like I said, unless it's worded that it has to be pro him.
Right. I just think I wanted to talk about that story because I just think it's an interesting strategy. And if they have any success with this in Montana, get ready for it to be everywhere.
Oh, it'll be everywhere.
You'll have Mizzou, athletes popping up in your YouTube videos doing commercials for people running for Congress and things like that in Missouri. If they get any traction from this, it'll spread like wildfire.
I almost think that this just goes back to my when I was younger, free thinking, and Mad Max and Thunderdome was a pretty popular movie. I just thought, just take your two candidates and throw them in the Thunderdome and be done with it. No campaigns.
At least throw them on the debate stage.
At least,
and we need to have more of those, and hopefully we will have one very, very soon. But you're right. Two go in, only one comes out, and there you go. You solve it that way. That's Mark McMurray from Bluff City Outdoors. He is with us for the rest of the show. We are going to continue. I've got a story. I touched on this yesterday. I want to tell the story more in depth about this Oakland City Council candidate that had her was at a rally and had fundraising money stolen from her in broad daylight. And she is one that has been against funding. She's been a defund the police person and very light on crime. And after she had this happen to her, she wanted to know where the police were and why it took so long why the police were so backed up and so overwhelmed that they couldn't come help her as this was happening.
That's just pure karma.
I'll tell you the story when we get back. Mark McMurray from Bluff City Outdoors is with me, and we'll talk about that more next on Colombo Company.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
Female millennial Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
September is hopping in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Every weekend, enjoy festivals and events, including Market Day season finale, third Saturdays in Mount Vernon Flea Market and Vendor Fair, concerts at the Granada Theater, special events at C.E. Brem Memorial Library, Rev Up at Mount Vernon Fall Fest, Cedarhurst Ironclad Art Motorcycle Show, and so much more. Celebrate creativity redefined all month long in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Learn more at enjoymountvernon.com. Brought to you in part by Mount Vernon Tourism and Enjoy Illinois.
Craving a taste of Italy? Look no further than Vitale's Deli.
Family owned and locally operated, we're bringing a little bit of the hill to the heart of Glendale. Our friendly staff treats you like family, serving up a delicious variety of sandwiches inspired by authentic Italian flavors. With reasonable prices and something for everyone, Vitale's is your own backyard taste of Italy.
Come see us.
Call 314-966-9912 or visit vitalesdeli.com.
Vitale's Deli, where great food meets a family tradition.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
When Kamala Harris selected Tim Walz to be her running mate, did she know everything about him? I'll answer that in a moment, but here's something you might not know. I give the credit to Federalist executive editor Joy Pullman for pointing this out in an article. A bill passed and signed by Minnesota Governor Walz would ban Christians from teaching in public schools. To be clear, they are not banned because they might try to teach about Christ. They are banned because, as Christians, they have no chance to get a state-approved teaching certificate because the latest regulations require teachers to agree they will support gender identity, telling boys you might be girls, girls you might be boys. And for the same reason, no Jews will be getting a teacher's certificate, and no Muslims. Only if you worship at the altar of gender identity will you be allowed to teach in Minnesota public schools. By the way, back in 1999, when Walz was a teacher, he sponsored a student queer sex club. So did Kamala know all of this before selecting him as vice president? Maybe. Maybe that's why she did select him. Maybe she just didn't care.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Question: do you know what vermiculite is? It is an insulation in the attics of hundreds of thousands of homes and public buildings. Looks like kitty litter, but often contains asbestos. Wellington Environmental is the largest company in the Midwest that can remove that hazard for you. Wellington has what is called the General, a powerful industrial vacuum that can suck vermiculite out of the attic. Hang on, there's something else you should know. Many of you might qualify for up to a $4,000 rebate. You should at least contact Wellington to see if you qualify. And here's something else. Wellington arrives at the time they give you, not sometime within 4 hours. 314-644-4930. 644-4930. WellingtonSTL.com. WellingtonSTL.com. Wellington Environmental. Your world cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Mark Harder, he is running for Missouri Senate District 15. Before I let you go, someone wanted me to ask you about the sign that is next to yours, and it said Harder Daddy.
Some little prankster actually went out and invested about probably $50 in a vinyl banner and hung it next to my sign. So, I guess there's no bad publicity.
Funny.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Dr. Randy Tobler, along with daughter Sammy Tobler-Gregory, a team member here at our family-owned Body of Health Direct Primary Care Practice. Sammy, what are patients telling you about their experience at Body of Health?
I can't tell you how many patients I've had come to me and tell me they just so appreciate getting to sit across the table with their doctor and chat about whatever's going on with their healthcare needs for however long they need.
Want to learn more about healthcare the way it ought to be? Schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
The Allman Report.
Hey, Thursday on the Allman Report, she is the queen of conspiracy theories, but she's our queen of conspiracy theories. That's on the Allman Report. Thursday, I'll see you then.
Jamie Allman. Weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Emily and Mark McMurray from Bluff City Outdoors, who is also my co-host every Saturday and Sunday. Saturdays at 11 a.m., Sundays at noon, the Bluff City Outdoors show here on News Talk STL. We talk about all things outdoors, fishing, hunting, trapping. And of course, if you have any of those things that you will be doing anytime soon, you can prepare for your next trip into the great outdoors at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton, about a mile east of Fast Eddie's on Broadway.
Yep.
That's the best way to.
That's the best. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows where Fast. Yeah, that's the best landmark. So just mile east of Fast Eddie's, right there.
Fast Eddie's, opposite side of the street.
And it's how long has Bluff City Outdoors been there?
So Decades. I bought it back in 2003, and it had been in. The bait and tackle shop in Alton had been in that building for about 10 years before that. That was Rodney's. So.
Right. So decades been the go-to place for fishermen. And then as we talked about, it's been pretty much exactly 2 years this week since the expansion of Bluff City Outdoors, which included the archery range and all of the archery services, including the best Bowtechs in the area, and just an expansion of services and products out there at Bluff City Outdoors that you can.
Those guys the customers come to me and they say, dude, these guys are top notch.
Yeah.
Best ever,
That's
they've ever been.
great.
So it's really encouraging to, got Jeff, who's got a ton of experience, and you got Seth, who is less experienced, but Seth, while he doesn't have as good at technical skills, he's a great people person, and then Jeff, he just knows his stuff.
Oh my!
And people realize that. They go,
unbelievably knows his stuff. We've talked to him on the Bluff City Outdoors. We should probably have him on, soon, because Bo.
Yeah, it's right here. Yep.
And just tap into some of that knowledge that he has. It's incredible, and you can take advantage of it at Bluff City Outdoors. All right. As I mentioned, I touched on this story yesterday, but didn't have time to tell the whole thing. Oakland homeless woman steals city council candidates' fundraising money in broad daylight. An Oakland, California city council candidate who is running for office on the platform of addressing the city's homeless crisis and crime said she had a bag full of donations stolen by a homeless woman during her campaign kickoff event this past Sunday. And to make matters worse, she said that she called 911, but the police never came. Now, this is also a candidate who has a history of being on the woke side.
Yeah, defunding the police.
Defund the police and things like that. And this is all on camera. There's a video. You can go watch the video of this interaction. I mean, it's unbelievable how long of a process this was. And the woman still got away with stealing apparently $1,000. They offered, you hear in the video, you hear this candidate and people on her team like offering her money to give back the money, offering her to take her to like get food or help her or whatever it may be. And she, obviously turned it all down and ended up getting away with about $1,000. During the situation, they called 911 and the police were not able to send an officer to the location. And they were told by the dispatcher that there were 250 other calls ahead of that situation. And since it wasn't life or death or, a threatening of violence or anything like
Did
that.
they, by chance, dispatch a social worker?
Well, it's interesting you say that, Mark, because they also said, we called 911 and were told that the police that had 250 other calls ahead of our incident. They also said that they tried to call. Oh, I had it here because I want to get the terminology right. It was like homeless services. They did try to call, a group like that, and they weren't open because it was the weekend. It was called like not social services, but some kind of like social services hotline that wasn't open because it was the weekend. So no help there. She also said, quote, I very much tried to have a de-escalatory conversation with her to convince her to hand over the bag, offer her a warm meal at a grocery store, even give her money in exchange. But those tactics did not work. No kidding.
Shocking that didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, like that is, talk about irony. I mean, karma.
So this is reimagined, the police force. I mean, this is what all of those decisions in those policies, as this woman found out, they have consequences.
Yes.
And they're typically not good.
Yeah. And all those times that we were told, we're not going to send, when there's a domestic violence call, we're not going to send an armed police officer anymore. We're going to send a social worker that's trained in, de-escalatory skills to take care of that. And, we're going to not be so heavy-handed when it comes to bond, and we're going to be soft on crime because, if we're nicer to criminals, they'll change their ways.
Yes.
And every law enforcement expert and every police officer that you ever talked to about this all said, you're going to make it so much worse. It's so much more dangerous. It's not going to work. And we're seeing that exactly.
All it takes is a casual observer of human nature, and that's not going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to work.
It's all it's all wrapped up perfectly into one story right there. We only got a couple minutes left here, but of course,
I told you, deterrence works if you do it right.
Yes, that is correct.
Got to do it right.
Yep. You're exactly right. And your theory on that is very good.
Yeah, it's provable.
Yes, absolutely. Only a couple minutes left. Don't forget to tune in to the Bluff City Outdoors show this week. Here's a story that we're going to talk about this week. We'll go over the details of, but did you see the headline, the national headline about the two fishermen in West Virginia that broke?
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't read it, but I did saw the headline there.
Well, I touched
record
on
within
it.
hours of each other.
Yeah, I touched on it on this show earlier in the week, and it'll be something that we definitely talk about this weekend on the Bluff City Outdoors show. But yeah, what a great, wholesome story. It's two guys go out fishing together. This was earlier this month in West Virginia. And at 7:30 in the morning, one of them breaks the crappie record, the state record. And 75 minutes later, his buddy breaks the state record.
I mean, that's karma too. And the other way, that's just unreal.
And we've heard, these types of stories are happening everywhere. This is a West Virginia story, but on our show the last couple of years, I mean, it is a great time to embrace the outdoors.
Yeah, we had our one guest on there, Micah Burkhardt, I think was his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he broke the Tennessee Blue Cat record twice.
Absolutely. It's a great time to be out fishing. And it's a great time to visit Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. Also, next weekend is the Alton Catfish Classic. Just want to remind folks, I'll talk about this next week too, about just a great family event tied in with the Alton Expo. The Alton Catfish Classic, big fishing tournament put on by Mark and his team at Bluff City Outdoors that you can go and watch the weigh-in. It's just an awesome family event.
Oh, it's great.
It's next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep, the 7th.
Next Saturday, the Alton Expo, the Alton Fairgrounds out there, and we'll continue to tell you about that through the week as well. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Emily and I will be back tomorrow at 2. In the meantime, keep it here for the O'Reilly Report next, then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Parents want more choices rather than fewer when it comes to their children's education. And now some Missouri parents will have one more option to get their children the best education available. Low-income students and